This is a Demi method tutorial. You can ask all the questions you want. This is a minimalist style way of doing makeup. No foundation, no concealer. It's one of my favorite ways to wear makeup. Hi, my name is Althea Gobble, and if you're new here, I'm a Saint artist, and I share this wonderful makeup product and a way of wearing it. So say hello when you jump on. If you're watching it later, you can be color matched. You can go to, oh, Elon, I'm so glad you're joining us. I'm thrilled. If you're wanting to be color matched, you can go to yes.altheamatchme.com and I'll be glad to match you. All right, let's get ready a little bit. This is my makeup. It's all-in-one compact. It's magnetic. It's pure pigment, and it's translucent. I want to show you some alternative ways. If you are not new to Demi, ask all the questions. If you're trying to learn, especially my customers, you guys, or just anybody, you have questions about how to wear it, ask away. Any tips and tricks I can share? No, we can't. All right. I am applying the brow wax. It's about time for the sun. I need to turn it around this way. This is my brow wax, which fits in here. It's like a little tin, and add a little bit of setting spray on it or water, and using a little spoolie, just kind of get it on there. And I like to apply it onto the hair first and let it dry a little bit. Saves me some time to let it set. So the first step in Demi, my nose starts itching as soon as I go live, is I like to balance the color, and that's all really it is instead of following a hack or a trick, or everybody's face is different. You just kind of look at the overall color, and don't forget the chest and neck area. Your colors that are true to you, that if you have a lot of pink in your skin, that's not a bad thing. Maybe if you have pink here, you probably need to carry and balance the pink in the face. If you are more tan here, you probably need to add more color here. Just have to kind of look at your face and get an overall feel of color and this balance it. And that's a little bit of a learning curve. I don't know why it looked so. Is my phone getting hot? It is. It went dark, like I can hardly see. I've got it propped up in the window. I bet it's hot. Shucks, let's move over here. I'm sitting on my bed. Maybe that'd be better. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to let that just dry a little bit while I do everything else. I'm going to use a very silky brush, the shape brush, and I want to kind of look and add some color where I need it. That's the first thing I like to do. I am going to use, I've lately been using this color called Cedar. Really like it. It's like a green feel to it. It's almost like a green neutral, olivey kind. And using this silk brush, I love to add it in places where I need added color. So catching a lot of light, the skin's a little thinner, it's closer to the bone here as I have aged, and so it gives the skin a very translucent look as we lose volume in our skin. And I like to just very, very, very lightly tint the skin with this color. And you can see how that's just given a little more balance. Not trying to change the shape of my forehead. I want to balance the color. It's impossible for makeup to change your shape. Maybe for photographs or things like that on stage, but just in person, everyday makeup, which I share here, You just really want to balance and enhance your features that you have. So there's really nothing I want to do about that big forehead. So I just kind of warm it up a little bit where the skin is thinner. Come down on the temples some. Very, very, very lightly. I don't know if it's dark or what, but it feels like it is. I wonder if I cut this light on. And balance the light over here. Maybe it's just my phone. Say hello when you jump on. Okay, so I really like that on my forehead. Just gives a nice, good balance. And the goal is to make it very, very sheer because we don't want any evidence of product on the skin. And this is very translucent, especially using it with this brush. All right, now I'm going to just add a little bit right in here on this part of my cheek. It's a lot less color. And hey, from Texas. And when I was younger, I would definitely have a lot more color here on the top part of my cheeks, the freckles and that kind of thing. And they've just kind of spread out and they're not very cute anymore. But and from skincare and that kind of thing, I have kind of lost some of this, but it really helps lift the cheek to have a little bit of added color right here on me. So like I said, my face is going to be different than yours. So just playing with the colors, but the concept is I'm balancing color with very deep, rich colors first. So if you can see, that just adds a little more warmth to my eyes. No, I like both. And that's what I love about this process and this method and having all these pigments. I've used it so many different ways, and which I highly encourage you. Hi, Indiana. Highly encourage you to do the same because it is very versatile in my eyes. It is, especially when you're adding color to the skin where it's less or just balancing the color, you can't go wrong. And I will use 05 today right in here because as the skin is falling, this kind of gets, a little less, and it's kind of translucent and has some different colors in it. And I like using that 05 to warm up that fairness. And it's kind of like a great go-between age spots and fair skin, and even some translucent violet color skin. So that 05 works really well to warm that up. And you could just use 05 the same way. I've been using this cedar lately, and I really, really like it. I can use NO-1 the same way. So, like I said, I personally feel like it is not as hard pressed and a lot more fun because it's color. It's like having a box of crayons, and you can play around with them. So you see I'm just doing a little there in the jowl and underneath here. I'm not trying to make a line. I don't even go back in here. And if you have a nice structured jaw line, skip this part. Now there's a lot of ladies, I don't even bother putting anything right here. I just like this a little bit because it's so light and needs some warmth compared to my neck to here. Yes, 07, I think so. Now I have 07 in my compact, and it does have a lot more warmth in it. So I like to that 05 for a good balance of added color without adding a lot of pigment. 07, if I really want to drop in some color on my lips, on the cheeks, and yet it be still kind of just tone the skin a little bit with a little bit more pigment, using the 07. So on medium skin, I definitely would drop over here to the 07. And you can probably see I have all the sculpts. I love them. I have a lot of rich, vibrant colors, and a lot of oranges and yellows. You don't see any green, you see the blues, you don't see any of those violets. It's just very vibrant colors. This gives you, to me, the most versatility when doing this method. So you can see it's just more of a balance. Let me check my, not, the brow wax is dry, so I like to let it dry a little bit and then shape it with my finger and press it down. And if I have to use my fingernail to shape it, and to me it's a lot quicker than sitting there and trying to brush with a spoolie until it dries. I like let it dry and press it, and it works really good. It's like a temporary laminated brow. Oh, I love that. And I'll do a little bit of filling in. Okay, now the next thing I really love to do lately, and I've been doing a lot, and it makes sense when you think about it. So on my skin, freckling and even age spots is going to have a lot of green in it. So notice that this is more hollow, but in my younger years, this actually had a lot more color in it right in here, and it was freckles. And I would have some that go across here, even like but now they're just not cute and faded, and they're in different places. And now this is accentuating hollowness, and you can see more of the light to dark. So I like using this NG. Yeah, this is the NG and the small end of the shape brush, and play a little bit of my freckle color in areas as if the freckles are there, and let it build structure for me at the same time. I like to take just a little and do it here, because you imagine if the cheek was up fuller, I'm not going to be able to lift my cheek, but if it was up fuller, it would create more of a color right there, like a shadow, and now this is going to make that appear fuller. Now just kind of look at your face structure, look right here in this, and go back and look at pictures when you're younger and look at your face structure. And you're going to notice you had a lot more color than you realize. And we're all the time trying to paste things out and erase them. And now I'm just creating a little structure first before I do anything else. So here in this jowl area, okay, see this just very textured chin. I'm just going to use this again. It's green, it's in between the green. So places that I'm missing it, I have some here and I have some up here, so I'm just doing it where I'm missing it. So on my nose in just a minute, there's places where right here I have some and I'm missing some there. And then here, so I'll add it in between, and now it will, with very little product, instead of putting it all over and making these areas darker, if I put this over areas where I have a lot of pigment, it's just going to make them darker. I just want to get the go-between where I need it. So I'd like to have a little more roundness here in my apple, so I added a place where it's missing, where I'm needing color. And same thing here, just a little right in there. And see, like I said, this, I don't want a whole lot of color on my chin, but connecting to my neck with the freckles on my neck, I just do a hint. Does that make sense? Yay, good. Now right up here in the top of my forehead, okay, this would be a spot where I would get sun, and it's going to work really great to use this color just right up here. I did some cedar, but I did it more to tone the whole forehead. And I'm just going to put it right there, as if the sun went right here and right above here. Now you see I have H spots, so I don't want to hit that. I'm just going to go between those areas, and it's going to make it look like maybe I have more of a tan. Just a little bit. But you can see how it's structuring out my face. So as we age, our nose, this all kind of gets wider. This kind of droops. I'm not going to use that. No, I don't want all the highlight. Yeah. So as we age, this is going to get wider, and this skin, this is going to go forward, and the cartilage, everything's going to fall forward, and that's also going to push this lip down. So we're going to catch more light here. So that's going to bring it more prominent out, you know, and make it look like it's elongated, which it does do that. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm going to get a smaller brush because it's a smaller area, okay? That way we're getting very minimal product on there. And I am going to use the blur brush, and we're talking how little. Guys, I've had this one this one NG10 for 2 years. I love the sculpts, and just barely touching, and like where you smile, where mine has fallen down in here, it's lighter right there. So I'm just adding a little here, and see, you know, I have these lines, right? And they get more prominent. Well, they're more prominent where you have the light to dark. So I am going to just lightly, I mean, I'm not putting on product and coloring it in. And that's the learning curve with Demi, is just trusting it that you're actually doing something. But if you'll just look, and I did it before and after, or I did it before, I haven't done the after yet. And I'm just adding that back, and it's really helps mature skin because of, you know, your younger girls, they don't have to do this as much. They just add some little bit of color, a little bit of sculpt, and just maybe take out some distractions. But mature skin, we tend to have more translucent in skin, especially, it doesn't matter the type of skin you have or the pigment in your skin, we do get more translucent. And we kind of get purpley right in here, violet, and this really helps that. And I just want to balance my lip. I don't want this to be completely gone, but I also don't want it to look like it's falling forward. And I like to smile and kind of see different shapes and things like that. I'm not trying to get rid of wrinkles. I'm not trying to morph my face with highlighting and contouring. I'm just kind of accentuating color in my skin. And I don't know, it's just fun to experiment with. It is. Right there, I think I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and do my nose really quick and show you that. I'm gonna use this same brush. Sometimes I'd like to use a smaller brush, but if they're really close together, but this one works really well on me. And you can see when you're like, this is fallen and this is more prominent. So I'm going to add, but you can see that's already shadowed and kind of dirty. Now look, if you have a very oily nose, you can actually use one of our matte eyeshadows to do this. You could use like Valencia, that's similar to NO-1. You very rich skin tones. You could use butterscotch for the O. There's some in there that you can play with and use them for your nose if you have a very oily nose. Mine's very textured and large pores, so I like the Demi color to do that with because it's very friendly for texture and not accentuating. The powder will have a tendency to set in on my pores. So you can see I'm just touching in between some freckled areas and going right up here, and we're taking very little, but I'm looking in the mirror and in between age spots. Do you see how that's really helping out a lot? Now I like to use a different color in here, that little light spot, because this is where you're going to have a lot more veinage and violet, so I'm going to use a different color in there. So where I would naturally have pigment, I'm using that. Right in there. Yes. Now that was super easy. And I like to smile. You can see that little white area. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just to me it makes this more prominent. So I'm taking care of the light first. So if I'm skipping around, if you have questions, please ask. You know, at the end of the day, been in middle school, and I get a middle school brain, so it just kind of like, okay, what was I saying? All right, I'm going to add a little bit. You got to keep me on track. Keep me on track. Help me out here. I'm going to add a little color here, and you can probably see it that it's very it's uneven. This is going to be more translucent on me as I've aged, and then you've got also age spots, and then some of that pretty violet stuff that happens. It comes out of nowhere. It's like, okay, what is that? It's just like pink skin, and I don't know, it's just not very even. But I like to take the shape brush. This is just another one. And take just a little. We're not swapping into it 10. We're just getting a little bit of color. And I'm lightly adding some color there. And I think this is the biggest learning curve, is the application and using a brush. And not try to use it like we have done for many years with foundation. That is the hardest part, is learning to trust like little product. And I like to do it right here in the center, just to add a little, love it. Can you see a different, this is 05. I'm telling you, just get you a palette full of oranges and yellows and sculpts and have a ball. You can have a lot of fun with that. And I've done this so many different ways. I have done 05 all over and just gave myself some color. And I did a little bit of stuff around my eyes, added a little bit of flesh to my cheeks, and threw on some lip gloss and called it a day. And I really loved it. It's very minimal, but it gave me some color, gave me a little bit of toning. I didn't worry about distractions, and just felt like, okay, I don't look like I'm dead. Because that's the thing about mature skin, is just getting very translucent and see-through. I just needed depth of color back. And I guess that's the reason I like the sculpt so much, is it's translucent, but yet has depth in it. And that depth means the sculpts actually have all three primary colors in it. So that blue that's in every one of them gives that little bit of depth back, which we're missing in translucent skin because it's see-through. So that depth pulls it back, and then it drops in some pigment, some color, which is wonderful. The light part here, I haven't done anything yet. I'd used right here some NG to give that illusion of having freckles like I did when I was younger, something that's true to me. And it gives a little bit of sculpt right in this area. I haven't done anything in here yet at all. And that's the reason why this, this looks uneven, is I don't want this white. I don't want this lighter, because it makes whatever's dark darker. So I'm going to balance that with some additional color. All right, I'm going to put my brows on really quick, and I love to use Indigo Contour. What do you guys use for brows? I like this because it's 10. I can't tell you how long I've had it, and I melt it, and then it just lasts me forever. I'm pretty much, I know there's products out there for brows that ends up being your favorite, but gosh, guys, if you can have it in your compact and it all be right here in front of you, and it works, I don't know why not just leave it there. I don't want to mess with it. I like being able to close my palette, have my little brush holder, and that's all my makeup, and be done with it. I just prefer it to be very, very simple and easy to get to, easy to carry, take up little space. So I'm using, and since they're pressed down with the brow wax now, it's like super easy to fill them in. And the ladies that I've done that have, I have very little hair here in the tail, very little, but I've let my brows grow longer, and so they lay over, have a comb over. The brows have a comb over, and it's working. It helps a lot. So I have some gray hair in there, and that's really all I'm doing is like putting a little color on them gray little friends there, as Olivia says. What does she say? Up, up, little friends. Well, I'm saying bye-bye, gray. Oh, Lordy. Okay. There, tuck that one over. He wasn't combed over, so I just combed him over. Okay, now let's do a little cheek color because I like a flush. If you have naturally, the girl that I shared this weekend, she's a young girl and she has these beautiful rosy cheeks. All we did is balance that. We just balanced that little bit of rosy, little hot spots in it, and just kind of gave her some warmth on the side of her face and some depth. And those were her. It looks as if we applied cheek color and it was perfect. Oh, thank you. Here in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So, okay, I'm gonna add a little flesh color. I mean, I like the most vibrant you can go. There's many things I like. There's a lot of the matte 3D cheek colors I love. Black cherry, those kinds of things. I have that one. I even have RV7 in here. Love them all. And there's different things you can do with it as well. You can sculpt with these colors as well. And I may do that. I'll show you that. Let me show you that really quick. I'm going to take a little bit of a very, you can do this with black cherry, very little bit of RV7. Probably should clean my brush. And I already have the NG there, so I'm going to come up just slightly right in here with that rich, deep, and RV7 now remember has some blue in it because red and blue make purple. This has got more red in it than the blue, but it's going to give more depth in that area. And I'm just putting it right in here. And I don't want to layer anything. I'm kind of patchworking here. Oh, I love that. Now I'm going to use something a little right in here. I have a vein that comes right down there. It's very blue. So I like to use a little bit of red 3, blue greenish, and I just tap it a little bit. And then I like to take it up in here so it's all those veins are a little toned. I'm sitting here in the window and I'm getting all this different light, so I apologize, but we're just gonna go with it. I get Saturdays and Sundays is really good for getting the videos and tutorials in, but sometimes just using the ring light at 5 a.m. Hey, Christy, 5 a.m. Ring light. I like to use different light anyway, so I think it's good because that's what I love about the Demi is all the different light, no matter what, it's going to look good. Do you see how I just kind of did a little more depth here? That RV7 adds more depth and a little bit lighter. And so you can play with all the colors, but I highly recommend when it comes to cheek color, if you don't have naturally flushed cheeks, move to something vibrant and with a lot of color, okay? And just play with it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do my eyes. You want to do eyes? Under eyes. I'm going to do my under eyes. I consider my under eyes and my eyes at the same time. So I'm going to use the little spot brush. And I can do this one different ways. So these light areas, do you see this? All of this light. Okay? All of this light. And this is what typically bothers us. And then we want to shift our mind from looking at this and focus on this instead. And if we focus on what's the lightest, the brightest, the little white spots in there, and focus on those, then what's dark is not going to be as dark as you think. All right, so I definitely, let's see if that's better if I cut that off. There, that's better. I want to focus on these light areas. And then right down here, this comes too far for me. This is pigment that collects as we age. The skin goes here, like curtains, and folds, and all the pigment builds up. So I want to take care of that little spot there. But then if I take care of the most darkest colors, those two things, that's a vein, then in this lighter area, then I guarantee you this is not going to be as distracting as it was before in my eyes. You can tell me. It bothers you, I don't know. Okay, this is something I've been using lately, and it's really shockingly worked. This is NV Plus One. It's really good. It's just you got a learning curve on how to use it. I've also used the NY for the light areas, and it works. I've also used the NO-1, but notice the theme that I'm using. I'm using something that has depth of color in it, and it's going to drop in some color. So I'm going to use this NV Plus One, and you see how light, and I kind of stay back a little bit. That must have been indigo contour on there. I thought, boy, that vein looks really dark. Okay, so I kind of look back at my mirror, and I'm never zoomed in. I look back at my mirror, and I just kind of look, and I kind of find and smile at this little light area, and I'm just going to make it a little darker. Now, did you see that? Like, it's just tiny dot. Just a tiny dot, and whatever's lighter. Do you see what's happening? Do you see how this is not as prominent? And guys, you can see I'm like loosey-goosey with my hand, and I'm just touching light areas. I'm not covering every one of them. I'm just looking far away and what stands out to me the most. And I'm just dotting it. And do you see how that gave me back more volume? Then here, this looks like it's way sunk back in because we have this strong separation between light and dark. And now I have minimized the light, and this little spot here. And this, honest to Pete, guys, will work. Do you see what happened right there? This just shocks me. But now, I just wish I thought of that sooner. And honestly, I was just playing around and thinking, well, it should work color theory wise. So I was just playing around one day before I was going to wash my face and thought, here, I'm going to put this on because I don't want to waste a day of makeup and it be bad. So do you see that? This is a lot warmer. We need to get away from that, putting light stuff underneath our eyes, because this works. And look, all that just right here. And honestly, this doesn't even bother me now because it's giving my cheek some structure. Maybe a freckle right there, a freckle right there, or not a freckle, it's just like an age spot, really. And the vein, and right there, and that's it. That's so much quicker than trying to cover all the dark up. I'm going to do the same concept here and even less. You can see I have quite a bit of color naturally right there. It's hollowness, but I'm going to add a little more into that pocket, into this lighter area, and you can see what's that doing for my nose. It's giving me some structure there. So I'm using the color to my advantage. Same thing you can do as well. Then right here, I want it to go out because this, is falling down, and I want to push it back. Push it back and up. Go back up. Now, if you have a lot of wiggly skin there, I do on this eye quite a bit, gets down in here. Don't try to apply it like I gotta go in this area. Just look at your eye up and down. Right this minute. And when I get up in the morning, it's so hard because I have a bag right here. It's my sinuses. And according to what day it is of the week, how many days I've been at work, and how my sinuses are aggravated, they're pretty good today. So typically I have a little extra bag there. And so what I do is like this, in that little light spot, that little bag that sticks down, I'm just going to touch right on top of it. Instead of trying to worry about structure and shape, if you have the folds of skin and there's a fold of skin that concerns you, then just tap a little bit of it on the top, just like you did down here. Now you could totally do this with an eyeshadow, and it might be easier for you to do it with an eyeshadow because it's a little easier to control. And if you have really oily eyelids, use an eyeshadow. So you can do this with the color, use a little tiny brush and use the color like Cocoa or Philly. You can also do it if you want it to be more warmer. Use butterscotch, use tangerine, you can use Valencia, but I would definitely go into the medium shades. If you're in the richer skin tones, do like Coal, what's the other one, Coal and Revival. You can totally do that. Just use a small brush. I want to do. See, and it looks like I have eyeshadow on all over. And I like to take some kind of violet. I've done it with grape. I've done it with Red Violet 7. I like to take a little bit of color right at the lash line, and it just kind of gives all of those little veins, it kind of puts them and builds on them and adds some color of that. I'm going to do the same thing here. I feel like I got too much on my brush just then when I tapped. So I get overly aggressive. I'm going to do the same thing and just kind of hit. Now, I got a little too much. I'm not going to panic. I got too much. So I'm just kind of picking it back up. You can switch it, swap it away. I'm telling you guys, I've got the nose brain going on. I really do. Tap lightly. And and see, each eye's going to be different. This one's a lot more crinkly, saggy, droopy. This side of my face is more aged. That's from driving and sun and the sleep-in side. I try really hard not to sleep on my side. But you see what I'm doing? This concept's the same. I'm not trying to do the same thing over here as I did there. Areas where there's a lot of differentiation between light and dark, I'm taking care of the light, and it's like taking the tiniest amount of dotted product. And the reason why that works, just dotting it, is because it's very pigmented, and it takes so little, and it's translucent, so it's like tinting the skin. Now this purple comes way down here. I might take that back up there a little bit, and there's more of a bag right here. Can you see that? It's more of a bag. I touched that into myself. It's been a week and a half. Ask any questions, please. Because I'm getting zeroed in here. And see, this where this side is a little droopy. I'm still wanting to lift this up on this side a little bit on the bone structure. See that? But see how it droops down? So I'm going to have, it's like a tear stain. And a lot of us have it, just like a dog, get tear stains. So this is a little bit of a staining. So I know once I do this right here, that might show up a little bit, but I'm not going to go over top of it. I'm just going to filter that out with a corrector in just a minute. But see, the skin is a little more wrinkly on this side, so I just tap where I need it. I don't try to swap it in a pattern or anything. And if you feel like you get too much, you just... What would you do for smoker lines around the lips? Gosh, I hate them, don't you? And it's just, and I know they call them smoker lines, and you don't even have to smoke, and you're gonna get them. Moisturizer for number one, to help the texture. a Trenton Owen or something like that. So skincare wise, it's really going to be beneficial. But no matter what, as we age, they're going to get there. So skincare is going to help you. When it comes to you want to stay away from sculpts and depth and contour in that area if they're very deep. So I would work on making the skin have more color by using the oranges like 05, warm it up. If you have a lot of pigment in here and it's dark, you just want to stay away from anything that has blue in it, and that's going to be your sculpts and your contours. Stay with something that's color, like adding warmth, and don't go too light in the correctors. So stay in the 3s, maybe red 3 and an orange, red 3 and an 05. Play in that color. If you have pigment, do some 03 over it just to tone it. You're going to focus on toning up the overall color, and when you do that, see, I added sculpts up in here, but I cannot do any sculpts down in here because my lines, I have freckles, and it just ends up making it look dirty, and it just accentuates them. And so definitely stick with like 05. What skin tone are you? Are you richer skin tones? Are you medium? Are you fair? And that'll help me. And do you have any kind of major pigment there with it, like any sun damage or anything? Okay, I think I'm done right here with that. Yes. All right, now I'm going to take here, fair, no damage. Okay, fair with smoker lines. I would definitely, oh gosh, I said that about sculpts. So if you're fair, you're going to have a lot of violet in there, and you're going to have, does it look lavender like lilac? And do you ever get kind of pink every once in a while, that area? If you do, because I'm fair, I can use the NY -1 in that area, and I can use NO -1 in that area. And it works really nicely. And I would just work on toning it with maybe if you got any kind of capillaries nearby around your nose. If we're fair, this is an area that we get very violet blue. So I would definitely kind of try the NO -1 and tone the area with that. And then filter out with like 03, some tiny little dark points. Like I have some freckles, and I just target those dark points or muddy areas. And then what happens, our eyes don't focus on the dark anymore, and therefore we don't see the lines as much as anymore. Resist trying to put stuff in a line. That's not going to work. Definitely don't try that. So we're going to work on toning it and take the focus away from tiny little dark points in it. Does that help? So I'm going to use a little bit of the NV+1 right here. Just a little bit of added sculpt. Right there. It's the only place I want it. I really don't like going all over, okay? But I want that volume back right there. Yay, I'm glad. I like to add a little bit of NV+1 in the corner upward, but not all the way. The goal here is I'm trying to create more volume that I've lost. All right. Now I'm going to clean my brush off, and now I'm going to use NR, and I go right on the lip for it. Because I have you see some freckles? I'm just adding color. I'm not wanting to sculpt my lip there, because your lips don't have, it's on the same plane. If you look at your lips, look at anyone younger, you can see their lips don't have a line here and it folds out. the lip is on the same plane. So here I am just adding some color back where the pink of my lip used to be, and the lips collapsed and it creates all these little white places. Same thing here. I guess my neighbor's wondering what I'm doing, sitting in my bedroom looking out the window. They think I'm filming them, I guess. And I'm just like, no, I'm just putting on makeup. Sitting here with all my friends, talking to them. Okay, just a little bit of color there. Now when it comes, I like adding a little bit of color to my lips. I do this different ways. I'm just going to do, I've done different things. I love them all. I'm just going to do the tiniest amount. I love something very fluorescent. This one's out of stock, so I'm not going to use that one. I'm not going to tempt you with that one. I'm going to use Red 5. And I'm only going to apply it right in the center where I want more volume. And then I'm going to get a different brush, and I'm going to use Pineapple right there on the lip in the corner just a little bit to nude it out. I want you to notice what I have not focused on. I haven't focused on anything that's a distraction. Nothing. Not a thing. Save that to the very end. That's the learning curve with Demi, is we have to, learn to ignore dark points and just focus on light areas and adding color first. Okay, I think I like that. I got too much of that. I even did my eyes, my lips, everything first. And then the very last thing I do is grab a tiny little brush, forcing myself to only focus on something that's very small, and I'm not going to touch everything. And there's some days I wish I look and I thought, I should have filtered that out. But I've learned that only going to things that are the most distracting gives me a lot more oomph than worrying about every little detail. We don't want to take out all the color. We just want to take out the dark points. I'm going to use 03, easiest color to use because it's a medium orange, and it's just going to take the depth of distractions out, just the darkest point. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to barely tap in those dark points that I missed, and I'm only going to touch the darkest one. And I'm not going to touch everything. And so you see this one right here. That's probably going to have to have a little red in it because it's got pigment in it. That's like a freckle. But I'm just still going to roll with it. That vein, this vein here. And you can see the eyes filtered out. Then I like to go to my cheek. It's kind of like you have your little friends. You remember the ones that are there and where they're at. It's like, hey, I remember you. You're always there. Let me filter you right out. And they just kind of, and sometimes they stand out worse than the others. But I just kind of know where my spots are that I have learned that are the most distracting. And a way to learn to say, okay, which ones am I going to filter and which ones I'm going to let go? Which one is really a distraction? Which one really isn't? Set yourself a timer. When you're learning to do this method, yes, there's a learning curve, and I want to be completely honest with you. This is not going to be like, okay, you're going to be able to do this in 5 minutes, first time you've ever done it. That's not the truth, but I'm telling you, it should not take you no more time than it has ever taken to do like normal makeup when you take your time. But learning, being patient with yourself. So when I color match you, I give you a guide that's specific to you. And I also send you video clips. And then I keep a check on you. And whenever your stuff comes, you let me know. Follow the guides I gave you. And then we assess it. And let's see how we did. Let's talk about any kind of troubleshooting. Because I know that's going to happen because it's a new concept. It's a new way of thinking. So I knew what it took for me to learn it. And I didn't have anybody to give it to me like I'm giving it to you. I thought, okay, if I had this, I wouldn't have to think about it. So I'm doing that for you. In the long run, me just experimenting with color, grabbing some and not being afraid. I have ladies that will say, I'm so afraid to use it. And I was like, why? It's makeup. Wash it off. It will come off. It's not permanent. I got a dark freckle in my lip and it aggravates me. Do you see what I'm doing right there with my lines? I'm just targeting some dark points. Like if you have a really deep line, take the top of it and where it meets your lip and then let the rest of it go. And a lot of times if you take care of any kind of muddy areas or anything around your lip, the lines won't show up as much. I'm not trying to zero out color everywhere. And that's not what Demi's about. Demi's not about taking out every little tiny dark spot or something that has color in it. That's not what it is. We're balancing light and dark, and color can do that. And that's what I like about this 03. I have added all the color I need. Nothing is layered. We didn't go over top of it. I have all added color. Now I'm just taking out dark points. I don't want to erase color. Does that make sense? I left the room. Did you say you sent a face shot? Yes. I have an artist, but she uses all the makeup. Can you still help me? Yes. Yeah, I send you a graphic, several graphics in the stages that I would apply, especially for the first time. And like, okay, here's the process of applying it that I find is the easiest when you're learning to use Demi. So here's your face, and here's a video clip how to do that step. And I'm talking to you and showing you on your face. And then you get another one and another one. And I'll walk you through it. And once your stuff arrives, you try it out, and then let me know, and we troubleshoot back and forth. And I have ladies that one time say, okay, this is where I need you to apply this. I might have to tweak the color because it is an image. Say, okay, really that color is not that. Let's shift and reverse those. Whatever we need to do to troubleshoot. And it just shocks me. Well, I should be shocked because I trust the product. I know how it works. And it's like, wow, they got it. They got it, and they're happy with it. And they get bolder and bolder and more free, experimenting with color and trusting pigment and learning new things about their face and thinking differently about makeup. And that's what Demi Method is. It's not not in a higher order than anything else. It's a process. It's a different way of looking at makeup, which I find is very beneficial, especially being 50 and older. It is, I don't know what I do. I'm really, truly addicted to it because it just makes me feel like myself, and I don't feel like I'm got a mask on and covered up. I just can play with color. It's very easy, and it's fun to apply on ladies too. Lots of fun. I enjoy it so much. And you can experiment with all the different colors. Take what you have and experiment. All right, now I'm completely done. I mean, that was pretty cool. That was fun. And you could we could go a little more detail and do little small things, but really and truly just for every day, just adding some color, playing with the sculpts, play with some oranges and yellows. Guys, you can't go wrong. I promise you. Try those out. And that's what's great about it too, is skin tone. You know, it's so friendly to different levels of skin tone. Do you have any questions? If you do and you're watching this later, you drop them in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. I will also be dropping this video on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys hanging around so much. If you want to be color matched, go to yes.outtherematchme.com and I'll be glad to help you. If you want to grab any of these, you go to outthereagavo.com. Oh, thank you. I promise. It's a lot of fun. And my goal here is show you can play with it and have fun with it, and it's not hard pressed, and it's not like you got a rule to follow. There is some couple of learning color theory, but you don't have to really know color theory. You'll figure it out once you see what it looks like on skin and say, wait, skin, that didn't look right. Why did that not look right? That's how I learned it. And that's the reason why I say if you have a collection of some colors, tweaking it around where you want to place where, you'll eventually like, oh, wait a second, now I know why. You know, now I see it. Because honestly, several of us with all different skin tones can have very similar colors and apply them in a different place and get a totally different result. So it's pretty universal about certain things. But playing with it and very minimal and trusting the product and learning a few steps and a process to start learning it is really helpful. So I'm glad to help you. Thank you for joining in. All right, let's see if I can grab an after picture before the sun leaves me. I'm glad you're here. Thanks, guys.